U.S. Geological Survey is reporting a magnitude 7.6 earthquake off the Philippines.
A powerful 7.0 earthquake has struck the Philippines island of Luzon.
Why is the Philippines always in the path of raging typhoons, deadly earthquakes, and erupting volcanoes? This sprawling nation of thousands of islands is caught in one of the most dangerous disaster zones on the planet. What makes the Philippines so tragically exposed to nature's wrath? Join us as we uncover the grim reasons behind its vulnerability to natural disasters. Exposing the Philippines' battle with nature. The Philippines, made up of many islands, has to deal with a wide range of disasters like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, landslides, typhoons, monsoons, floods, and rising sea levels. But why is the Philippines so prone to these disasters? And could this be part of a bigger trend in Asia? The Philippines is a unique country, made up of thousands of islands located in one of the most disaster-prone areas on Earth. Because of where it is, the country often faces these disasters, causing widespread suffering for its people. For thousands of years, Filipinos have been dealing with these catastrophic events. The Philippines has a fascinating physical landscape, with over 7,000 islands located in Southeast Asia. It's in the western Pacific Ocean, right in the middle of the Pacific Ring of Fire. This area is known for its frequent earthquakes and volcanic activity. The country's location not only gives it breathtaking natural beauty, but also makes it vulnerable to the powerful forces of nature. The Philippines, a large island nation, is known for its many mountain ranges, like the Cordillera Central and Sierra Madre, that stretch across the islands. The Cordillera Central runs from north to south and includes Mount Pulag, which is the third highest mountain in the country, reaching 9,600 feet. The Sierra Madre, running along the eastern side of Luzon, acts as a natural shield, helping protect the land from powerful Pacific typhoons. On the island of Panay, the Central Panay Mountains stand tall, while in Mindanao you'll find Mount Apo, the highest point in the Philippines at 9,692 feet. The country's geography has been shaped by volcanic activity, resulting in several active volcanoes. Among these are the Mayon volcano, known for its nearly perfect cone shape, and Taal volcano, which is one of the smallest active volcanoes in the world. One of the most memorable volcanic events was the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in 1991. This eruption was so powerful that it changed the landscape and even affected the global climate. But this wasn't the only thing that makes the Philippines unique. Beyond the mountains and volcanoes, the Philippines boasts a coastline that stretches over 22,000 miles. This long coastline is home to rich marine life, with ecosystems like coral reefs, mangroves, and seagrass beds supporting a wide variety of sea creatures. The coastal areas are often narrow and bordered by steep mountains, especially in Luzon and Mindanao. The coastlines are dotted with bays, coves, and inlets, with Manila Bay being one of the most important and well-known. But the diverse and dynamic landscape of the Philippines doesn't stop there. The mix of mountains, volcanoes, and coastlines not only shapes the environment, but also influences the daily lives of the people who live there. The Philippines is a country with a rich mix of natural features that play a big role in its geography and economy. Scattered across its many islands are rivers and lakes that are essential for farming, travel, and supplying fresh water to communities. For example, the Cagayan River, the longest in the country, flows through Luzon, while the Agusan River runs through Mindanao. Let's look at the Philippines' landscapes and seasons, and how they affect the people living there. A jewel in the Philippine landscape. One of the most notable lakes is Laguna de Bay, the largest in the Philippines. There's also Lake Lanao in Mindanao, which is important to the Maranao people both culturally and historically. The country's climate is mostly tropical, which means it's usually hot, humid, and gets a lot of rain. The Philippines experiences two main seasons, wet and dry. The wet season is brought by the southwest monsoon, called habagat, from June to October, bringing heavy rains. The dry season comes with the northeast monsoon, known as amihan, from November to February, bringing cooler, drier air. This weather pattern shapes the landscape and affects where and how people live. But this isn't the only challenge the Philippines faces. Around 20 typhoons enter the area each year, causing significant damage to both the environment and communities. The geography of the Philippines is both beautiful and unique, but it's also marked by its vulnerability to natural disasters. This constant threat influences not just daily life, but also how the country plans and develops for the future. But dealing with natural disasters isn't the only challenge. It's just one piece of how the environment shapes the way of life in the Philippines. This group of islands has endured various environmental challenges, including typhoons, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, floods, and landslides. Each of these disasters has left behind significant damage and heartache. Being in the Ring of Fire, the Philippines has a history of powerful earthquakes that have greatly affected the nation. One of the earliest major earthquakes was in 1645, with a magnitude of 7.5. This earthquake caused widespread destruction in Manila and across Luzon, damaging many churches, buildings, and essential structures. Another major earthquake struck in 1880, again hitting Luzon and reminding everyone of how vulnerable this island nation is to seismic activity. Alongside earthquakes, volcanic eruptions have been a constant threat because of the country's location. A notable example is the eruption of Taal volcano in 1754. This catastrophic event took place in Batangas province and lasted for 6 long months, covering nearby towns like Talisay and Tanawan with ash and debris, nearly wiping them off the map. But the worst part isn't just the immediate damage these disasters cause. They also have long-lasting effects on the regions and communities in the Philippines. Over the centuries, the repeated impact of these natural events has continuously changed both the physical landscape and the way people live in this island nation, leading to ongoing cycles of recovery and rebuilding. Many people were deeply affected, with countless individuals losing their homes and livelihoods. Another major volcanic eruption happened in 1814 when the Mayon volcano erupted. This eruption destroyed the town of Cagzawa, leaving only the church's bell tower visible above the volcanic debris. Sadly, this disaster claimed over 12,200 lives and left a lasting impact on the area. But volcanic eruptions aren't the only challenge the Philippines has faced. The country also deals with frequent and destructive typhoons. Throughout history, these storms have repeatedly caused severe damage. One of the earliest recorded typhoons hit Manila in 1867, causing widespread devastation to the nation's capital. Another powerful storm, Typhoon Amy, struck in December 1951, severely affecting the FAS and Lon regions. It destroyed homes, ruined farmlands, and led to the loss of more than 500 lives. Flooding has been a chronic problem, often made worse by the combination of typhoons and heavy monsoon rains. In 1911, a particularly severe flood hit central Luzon, affecting provinces like Pampanga, Bulacan, and Nueva Ecija. The floodwaters covered large areas of farmland, destroyed crops, and forced thousands of people from their homes. And if that wasn't enough, the country also frequently experiences severe earthquakes, adding to the list of natural disasters it has to endure. Next, we see how landslides and other disasters continue to challenge the Philippines. Beneath the lethal surface. Landslides in the Philippines have been a serious problem for many years, often triggered by heavy rains and earthquakes. As cities have expanded, they've started to encroach on nearby hills, which has made the situation even more dangerous. One of the earliest major landslides happened back in 1881 in the SIU province. Heavy rains caused a huge landslide that completely buried the town of Carar, leading to widespread destruction. Another significant event occurred in 1968 in the province of Leyte, where intense rainfall caused a landslide that swallowed several villages, tragically resulting in the loss of over 300 lives. These frequent natural disasters highlight how vulnerable the Philippines is to various dangers. They have left lasting scars on the country's landscape and deeply affected the communities that call it home. But this isn't the only concern. Why is the Philippines so prone to these natural disasters? The Philippines is one of the countries most affected by natural disasters in the world. This vulnerability comes from its unique geographical location and social conditions. According to the World Risk Index 2023, the Philippines is ranked as the highest risk nation, mainly due to its exposure to various natural disasters and the weaknesses found within its communities. One major reason for this high risk is the Philippines' location in the Pacific Ring of Fire, a region known for frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. These natural events often cause severe damage to local communities. For example, the 1990 Luzon earthquake caused significant destruction. Additionally, eruptions from volcanoes like Mount Mayon and Mount Taal have led to widespread damage, forcing many people to evacuate their homes. The 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo was especially destructive, affecting not only the local area but also global weather patterns by releasing a huge amount of volcanic ash into the atmosphere. This eruption is often credited with causing an unusually cool summer in 1992 instead of the usual heat. But that's not the only challenge. The Philippines is also located in the western Pacific typhoon belt, making it prone to some of the most powerful storms on Earth. Every year, the country is hit by several strong typhoons that bring heavy rain, strong winds, and dangerous storm surges. These conditions often lead to severe floods, landslides, and extensive damage to buildings and infrastructure. Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, for instance, serves as a harsh reminder of how devastating these storms can be. As these natural disasters keep coming, the resilience of Filipino communities is constantly put to the test. It highlights the ongoing need for strong disaster preparedness and response efforts to reduce the impact of these events and protect vulnerable communities. The Philippines is at serious risk from powerful storms, with one storm alone taking over 6,300 lives. The damage from these events often goes beyond what local efforts can handle, leaving lasting impacts on communities for years. The country's geography, with its mountains and long coastlines, makes it especially vulnerable to natural disasters like landslides and tidal waves. Rivers and coastal areas often flood, particularly during the rainy season, making these storms even more destructive. With over 22,000 miles of coastline, the country is also at high risk from rising sea levels and coastal erosion. Urban growth, especially rapid and unplanned expansions in cities like Metro Manila, adds to these risks. These crowded cities suffer from weak infrastructure and limited resources, meaning even small weather events can cause major problems. Informal settlements, which often lack basic facilities and are located in dangerous areas, are particularly vulnerable. Metro Manila, now home to nearly 26 million people, is the most populated area, followed by Cebu and Angeles, each with populations in the millions. The spread of people across the many islands of the Philippines adds more challenges when it comes to managing and recovering from disasters. But this isn't just a problem for the Philippines. It's important to remember that Asia, as a whole, is more prone to natural disasters than any other region in the world. The continent's varied landscape and climate expose it to many natural threats, from storms to earthquakes and from floods to droughts. Moving on, we explore why the Philippines faces such high risks from natural events. The strange threats of the Philippines. The country deals with many challenges, including earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, landslides, typhoons, floods, and rising sea levels. According to the World Risk Index of 2023, the Philippines is the most exposed country to these natural dangers, leading many to wonder why this region is so vulnerable. The Philippines is made up of over 7,000 islands in Southeast Asia and is located on the Pacific Ring of Fire. This area is known for its frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The country's mountainous terrain, like the Cordillera Central and Sierra Madre ranges, acts as a natural barrier but also increases the risk of landslides and floods, especially during typhoons that form in the Pacific Ocean. Additionally, the Philippines has a long coastline that stretches over 22,000 miles, making it vulnerable to storm surges, rising sea levels, and coastal erosion. Urban areas such as Manila Bay are particularly at risk, highlighting the dangers faced by cities in these regions. The country's rivers and lakes, such as the Cagayan River and Laguna de Bay, play a crucial role in water management. However, during the intense monsoon seasons, these water bodies often overflow, causing severe flooding in lower areas and cities. The Philippines experiences a tropical climate with distinct wet and dry seasons, influenced by monsoon winds that bring heavy rainfall from June to October. This pattern of rainfall contributes significantly to frequent flooding and landslides, especially in hilly areas. Every year, about 20 typhoons hit the Philippines, causing widespread damage to infrastructure and agricultural lands, particularly in coastal and low-lying areas. But the problem doesn't stop there. Environmental issues like deforestation and soil erosion make these natural disasters even worse. When forests are cut down, the natural barriers that protect against landslides and floods are lost, and soil erosion leads to sediment buildup in rivers and along coastlines, which can worsen flooding. Volcanic activity is another major concern in the Philippines, home to several active volcanoes. Among the most famous are Mayon volcano, known for its nearly perfect cone shape, and Taal volcano, one of the smallest active volcanoes in the world. These volcanoes have erupted multiple times, affecting local communities and ecosystems. One of the most dramatic eruptions in recent history was the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo, one of the largest eruptions of the 20th century. This eruption released vast amounts of ash and gases, impacting global climate patterns and causing destructive mud flows that buried towns and forced thousands to flee their homes. But this isn't the only concern. In recent years, the Philippines has experienced several eruptions from Mount Mayon, Taal volcano, and Mount Canlaon on Negros Island, showing that the volcanic threat is ongoing and continues to affect communities across the country. Additionally, there is growing concern about the possibility of a major earthquake, known as the Big One, along the West Valley Fault. If this earthquake occurs, it could have devastating effects, raising serious questions about how well the country is prepared to handle such a disaster. The Big One is expected to be a very powerful earthquake, and history shows that the Philippines has experienced severe earthquakes before. Some of the most significant ones were the 1976 Moro Gulf earthquake and the 1990 Luzon earthquake, which together resulted in thousands of deaths. From 1599 to 2020, earthquakes have caused over 6,000 deaths in the country. The Philippines, located near active fault lines, frequently faces natural disasters. A recent study has highlighted the West Valley Fault, which last moved in 1658, almost 400 years ago. Experts believe it could shift again soon. Although a 7.2 magnitude earthquake might not sound extremely powerful, looking at past events and predictions of even stronger quakes shows that such a shift could lead to a huge disaster, especially in a country that is already struggling with preparation. Now, we focus on the earthquake risks and how the country prepares for them. Unpredictable tremors. Experts predict that a 7.2 magnitude earthquake on the West Valley Fault could result in about 34,000 over the past 1,400 years. This fault has experienced 4 significant earthquakes. However, there is no technology available anywhere in the world that can precisely predict when or where such large earthquakes will occur. Scientists use historical data to estimate how often these events might happen. The Philippines is an archipelago located within the Pacific Ring of Fire, making it prone to a mix of natural disasters. These include not only earthquakes, but also volcanic eruptions, typhoons, floods, landslides, storm surges, and rising sea levels. The combination of these risks with the country's diverse landscape and weather patterns presents ongoing challenges for disaster management and adaptation in the Philippines. But dealing with earthquakes isn't the only challenge. Understanding the urgent need for disaster readiness, resilient infrastructure, and sustainable environmental management, the Philippine government has taken steps to improve disaster preparedness and lessen the impact of natural disasters. The Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Law of 2010 established the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council to coordinate efforts across all levels of government and with different groups. The focus is on preventing disasters, preparing for them, responding effectively, and helping communities recover. But this is just part of the solution. The government has improved early warning systems to quickly alert the public about upcoming disasters, giving communities time to evacuate and take protective actions. They've also built strong buildings like evacuation centers and flood defenses, which not only provide shelter but also support those working to help during disasters. But even with these efforts, challenges remain. Community involvement is key in preparing for disasters. Local areas hold workshops, practice drills, and campaigns to teach people how to respond during emergencies. Community leaders work with local groups to create plans that address the specific risks in their areas, making sure everyone knows how to stay safe. Yet, with climate change making these risks worse, the need for smarter strategies becomes more critical. As climate change worsens these risks, the Philippines is focusing on smarter development strategies and better protecting the environment. Infrastructure is being built to better withstand disasters linked to climate change. The country is also working with other nations and organizations to share resources, learn from each other, and improve disaster response strategies. Experts map out the areas with the highest risks to better plan and focus efforts on reducing vulnerabilities. The government also runs educational campaigns to inform people about disaster readiness and safety during emergencies. Laws support these initiatives by setting guidelines to manage risks and protect communities across the country. But the work doesn't stop here. Disaster preparedness is a shared responsibility that involves the government, communities, and individuals. By staying informed, prepared, and united, we can build a stronger, more resilient Philippines. Continuing to learn, adapt, and support each other is essential as we face future challenges together, working to make a difference and ensure the safety of everyone. Is it right to keep building in places where disaster is almost certain? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.